Let's go. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's Mike Scharfenberg, Game Plan U today, and a big time welcome back to Interview with Influencers Season 2. I know it's been some time in between seasons, but we've taken that time to recalibrate, transform the program, and really tee up some big time guests for this upcoming season. And couldn't be more excited to reunite with everybody in our Interview with Influencer community. And I know the location may have changed a little bit, but everything here is still the same. Big thing for everyone who is new to the show. Really, the core of this podcast is to feature sport industry executives and just give them the platform to share their story. Who are they? Share their experiences, the lessons they learned along the way. But maybe most importantly, what advice do they have for those who are striving to continue to grow their career or to continue to break into the industry? So again, Season 2, we are back. We're better than ever. And what better way to just kick off Season 2 than with one of my favorite people in the industry. He's the director of sales at the Aspire Group, and believe it or not, is a proud executive of residency here with Game Plan U. Let's give a warm round of applause to Mr. Kyne Sheehy. Kyne, welcome, my man. How we doing?
Doing great, man. Happy Friday. Excited to be here.
Let's do it. Happy Friday, and super excited to finally have you. And, I was thinking about it this morning, and, when we first connected, it was almost like an instant connection. We talk a lot about that on the show, about being organic and opening yourself up. And, when you and I first connected, we both we linked about our past and our journey to where we are today, when we really didn't know where we wanted to do. But you go out and you take risk, and you follow your heart. And I think also just our passion for helping others, right? I think that kind of led us to where we are today. But I think I said enough. With that said, for those who don't know, walk us through the journey. Who is Kyne Sheehy?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Mike. And kudos to you, man. I mean, you're making a legendary name for yourself early on. So kudos to you. Excited to see the big things up there in Nashville. But Kyne Sheehy, Director of Sales for the National Sales Center for the Aspire Group. So take a journey back to where I started out. Grew up in San Diego, California. I come from a big family. I've got 7 brothers and sisters. So there's 8 of us total. So at a young age, learning that team mentality, always having someone to work with or work around or play sports with, you name it. Went to San Diego State, got my degree in political science, go Aztecs. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my career. I had worked a little bit in athletics, selling tickets for football game on game days, but nothing extensive. Never looked at that as a career past that. Was like many entry-level folks, applying anywhere and everywhere on Teamwork Online, trying to get a job, just seeing what stuck on the wall. Realized that was a terrible kind of way to try and find a career or get my start. But ultimately went to a career fair at Staples Center for the Pac-10 tournament at the time, and had the opportunity to talk to the LA Clippers, and went through a pretty extensive group interview process, and ultimately decided that inside sales executive role was good for me and the right fit for me. And the rest is almost history. But that's kind of where I learned the business firsthand, learned what a career in sports could be, from entry level to executive level leadership. Standard inside sales program, 6 to 9 months, was doing well, was looking to grow. There wasn't really room at the Clippers at the time to grow. So took a leap of faith, went down to Mobile, Alabama to work for the Mobile Bay Bears, first full-time account executive role. They were the AA affiliate of the Diamondbacks at the time, changed affiliates to the Angels during my 5 seasons, but really awesome opportunity. Minor league sports, nothing like them. You build that relationship with everyone you're in the trenches with. And so got to learn so much there, really, really develop my skill sets and really become a well-rounded individual. Was there for 5 seasons, worked my way into leadership, was the director of sales for the final 3 seasons, and then was looking to continue to grow again. Had the opportunity to go back to LA or California to launch the Clippers G League team, the Agua Caliente Clippers of Ontario. And so inaugural director of sales there, getting to launch a team from the ground floor. Really amazing opportunity. Literally on day 1, we were building desks. So, when you're talking launching a team, sports startup, amazing opportunity. Largest staff I was able to hire and oversee to that point. So really the first time where I was kind of given the keys and told, hey, make it happen. Sales, marketing plan, we're all under my guidance and leadership. was there for a season, amazing opportunity. But as things happened, next opportunity came, and that's when I was introduced to the Aspire Group. At the time, the Aspire Group was outsourced to season ticket sales for the LA Chargers. And so I had the opportunity to take over a team in LA at Chargers headquarters selling season ticket sales on their behalf. So specifically, we focused on the final 2 seasons in LA, 2018 and 2019. Team did an amazing job, sold out season tickets both years as that final 2 seasons before they transitioned into SoFi, the new stadium. We actually even had a partnership with Legends at the time where we supported them selling the new stadium on behalf of the Chargers. So really awesome stuff, really well integrated. Then in May of 2019, had the opportunity to take over the National Sales Center here for Aspire. So if we're not on site at a property like we are at Georgia Tech or Rutgers or Kansas, then we do it remotely out of our National Sales Center. And so we do that from here in Atlanta, or our Aspire headquarters. I oversee that. I oversee all of our remote relationships and then all the staffing that goes into that. So keeps me busy, keeps me on my toes. But currently we're working with the Washington Nationals, Washington Prime Group. We're helping sell sponsorships throughout the country to different malls and town centers to help generate more revenue to their events. We are working with the YMCA of Greater Charlotte. We've helped support the NFL Pro Bowl, International Champions Cup Soccer. You name it, we've probably done it. Lots of different markets, all sports, but really exciting time. And, couldn't be happier to be at such a pivotal part of Aspire, where I like to call it the launching pad for successful sports business careers.
I could, first off, if I don't want to hear anybody say they're too busy. You listen to run that back and listen to what this gentleman has on his plate, and then we'll have a conversation then. But no, I mean, what a journey! I think you're a perfect example of coming out of your comfort zone, right? And in the sport industry, you're gonna have to be willing to move. You're gonna have to be willing, if you want it. The opportunity isn't always going to be in your backyard. You're going to have to take some sacrifice. And what are you willing to give up? So I love that. And I think I want to, because minor league sports is such a interesting world. And I think a lot of career seekers that I speak with, they see the Nationals or the Yankees or the Titans or they see the big time logos. That's where I want to be. And that may not be the best spot for everyone. So can you just speak a little bit to your time in minor league baseball and the lessons you learned there?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I'm even still seeing it here at Aspire now with the National Sales Center and, YMCA Greater Charlotte versus, the Atlanta Falcons or the Hawks or whatnot. And, the YMCA is a name brand and an affinity that everyone has a connection to the Y. So, it's an amazing opportunity, an amazing partnership. So you would think that recognition goes there, but sometimes, it doesn't. But one of the biggest stories and recollections that I have is like, I was trying to get out of the minor leagues. I was like, hey, this isn't for me. Like, I'm just not growing. I'm not getting there. I'm never going to make it to the Yankees or the Nationals or whatever. And actually, Andrew Sidney with the Tigers, he actually put it in a really great perspective for me on like, hey, there's minor league teams that operate similarly to major league teams. There's lots of operations that are very similar. And it's all about how you translate the numbers over. How do you tell the story? Maybe I did this much in group revenue, but it was these many group tickets on a Wednesday night. And, going from a 200 person Wednesday to a 1,500 person Wednesday, like that's a big win for a low level mobile or minor league team or double A or single A affiliate, whatever. And so I think the biggest thing is like that grind, that mentality, like is going to be true for you throughout your career. And you're always going to have that hard work, be able to say, hey, I've done that and I can continue to do that. But then secondly, like you don't have the resources, you don't have the budgets, you don't have anything to do it with. And so you really have to kind of figure out how to do it all with nothing. And if you can do that, then when you get a budget, when you get the logo, when you get the brand, when you get all these other things, you're going to be a kid in a candy store. But otherwise, you're fighting an uphill battle that, can be very challenging, but very rewarding when it comes down to the growth and development that you've likely been able to have.
Spot on. It's needless to say, in most minor league organizations, your inbound line isn't, like this all the time. And you're not getting, full reports from the ops team and the CRM team.
No.
For people clicking on social media, right?
When I started in Mobile, it was like, hey, we love the Bay Bears. We're huge fans. This is awesome. And it's like, Great. We love to hear that. When was the last time you came to a game? 10 years ago. And you're like, oh, okay. So that's what we're starting with. Cool.
How, like we said before, how are we going to, you want to learn, you got to figure it out. You want to grow, you got to figure it out. So I love that. So let's kind of take a step back to sales in particular. Like, how do you view sales? I think people view sales in a lot of different ways. A lot of people who aren't in our industry just see it as, that used car salesman, you're bothering someone, cold calling. Like, how do you view sales, and what skill set do you think kind of propelled you to get to where you are today?
100%. Great question. I think it's here at Aspire, in my career specifically, I've really tried to hone in on the relationship approach and the consultative approach. And because if you would ask me, a senior in college, poli-sci major, like, you're going to go sell for the rest of your life, I would have been like, you're kidding me, like, good joke, haha. But then I got that first job with the Clippers and kind of learned it firsthand. And the biggest thing I say about it is, like, there's an intricacy to it. It's tough. It's a grind. But at the end of the day, it's really not hard. It's really just making relationships, talking to people, having conversations. And if you're willing to come out of your comfort zone, if you're willing to share about yourself, if you're willing to ask questions, if you're willing to push deeper sometimes, like, then you're going to be really successful in it. But if you're the type that when someone tells you something you don't want to hear, or you can't get back up on the bike every time you fall off, whatever the case may be, then sales isn't probably for you, because it's not for the easy minded, it's not for the timid, it's not for those that can't be okay with being successful 30% of the time. I always equate it to, like, baseball. Like, it's very much the same in that regard. Like, no other sport can you fail more than you win and be successful and have a Hall of Fame career. Well, sales is completely translatable in that, and it's a complete numbers game. And so when I look at that, I think some of those skill sets and values that you really need to have, and we're going to talk, I feel like we're going to keep saying the same things back to each other, Mike, is getting out of your comfort zone first and foremost. Like, gotta do it. If you don't do it, you're never going to go anywhere, probably. Because what do comfortable people do? They keep being comfortable, right? And so if you're going to grow, if you're going to take on new challenges, if it's going to be anxious and nervous, like, that's going to be uncomfortable, but you got to do it to some extent. Attention to detail. Learn that heavily in minor league sports. I mean, how can we get fans to come and have a good time if first and foremost the restrooms aren't cleaned and stocked, or the hot dogs aren't as they were advertised, or whatever? And so attention to detail, positive attitude. There's nothing more that can be said for what a positive attitude can do in your career, in your life, personally and professionally. Positive attitudes are contagious. You think about that. Do you want someone to catch your attitude, or do you want someone to catch a better attitude than you have? And so I think positivity's got to shine through. And then hard work, I think that speaks for itself. But then lastly, I would just throw out there, and it kind of sums it all up, but openness to learning, openness to opportunities, openness to everything. Because again, coming out of your comfort zone, being open to those opportunities, I think, hey, maybe it's group sales, maybe it's premium sales, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. It's like, you could say, hey, yeah, that's not for me. Or you could be open to that and learn a new skill set. And then when you're looking to be a CRO or a CEO, you're that much more of a well-rounded individual.
It's funny, you hit on a bunch of the questions that I have coming up. You kind of nitpicked at all of them, and it's just like, because it's all the skills that no matter what you do, but specifically in sales, like, you gotta do them, and it's more life skills, right? And I think, one of the things you mentioned, relationship-based selling, and that's exactly the mindset that I've tried to adopt and really put into practice every day. It's like, you have two choices. You could be sitting face to face, or you could be next to the person. We're going to either work this out together, or I'm going to sell you something. Like, my mindset has been, I'm not going to sell you something you don't need, because you're not going to have a good experience, most likely, and you're not going to give me referrals. Whereas if you don't need our product, great. Let's have a great conversation, maybe grab a beer at some point. Like, let's just have fun, and you'll go refer me. So I love all of those things. And you spoke to attention to detail. I love that. I think so many people kind of able to pivot that a little bit into preparation. I think, speaking of preparation, I admit when I do something wrong, I was not prepared, that my headset was not working for this show. So like all good professionals do, you admit when you take the L, but we grow and adapt. But speaking of preparation, like what is that? How do you see preparation? Why is it so important, not just in the short term, but in the long term? If you could speak to those points.
100%. I'll give you a little insider knowledge from Aspire IP, but we've got a term in our playbook that we talk about, and it's called the 5 Ps. And it's proper planning prevents poor performance. And I think it's as simple as that. Granted, your microphone broke, that's something you adapt for. You're still going to come on and crush it, right? But even further, had you planned that extra step a little bit more, would you been in a better spot? Possibly. So I think, just really that preparation, that planning, that's something I've really had to learn a lot more. It really helps with prioritization, time management, organization, all those different characteristics that I think are absolutely integral to being successful in these types of roles, especially my role, given the variety and all the different spinning plates and everything. But I think, like, look at it just even with the pandemic, look at it long term. Like, look at what the NCAA did prior to 2020. They had an insurance policy in place because they were doing some of that long term planning, which really drastically helped the NCAA tournament and helped them be in a better spot financially and for the future of the tournament and everything else. So I think, long term, where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? I'm doing a lot with that now. I'm like, hey, what's my dream job? How am I going to get there? It's great to say I want to be a team president or CEO or CRO. I can say that till I'm blue in the face. It's not going to do a dang thing for me getting there. So I'm building a plan on like what traits, what skills, what do these guys offer? What do they have? What do I need to be doing to get there? How do I get into these circles? And so, that's a lot of where I've been really excited for the Game Plan U community and the executive in residency and being able to connect and learn and have those conversations and open my mind up a lot more to some of that. And then I think just even in the short term, like you have to plan your lunch sometimes, as simple as that, or just what you're going to wear to work the next day. Cause like you don't do that. And then are you sitting here taking, all right, where are we going to go to lunch today? All right, I don't want to go to Chick-fil-A. I don't want to go to Panera, but like I need to eat lunch. What am I going to do? And did you just waste time, precious seconds that you're never going to get back? And so I think if you don't plan that ahead of time, if you aren't prepared for whatever it is, you're going to get curveballs thrown at you all the time. The more prepared you are, the better chance you have at hitting those curveballs. But if you weren't prepared and you get those curveballs, well, all of a sudden you're probably getting cut from the team, And so I think it's very important to be prepared and plan ahead of time so that you can adjust and adapt as needed.
Yeah, 100%. I think that plan, when we first connected and you spoke about your career plan and that kind of blueprint that you have, and every action that you take is you do it with a purpose. You're not just showing up and throwing up and whatever happens. It's like every action, being on this podcast, everything you do, there's a reason why you're doing it. And that's preparation. That's planning. That's being strategic. It's being smart. So I love that. And I think in terms of, it could be even smaller, like you said, planning your lunch. I know the big thing I think that separates me in my short time in the industry is the night before, I know exactly what I'm going to do, who I'm calling, who I'm starting my day with. Whereas, some of my colleagues may take the first 45 minutes to an hour of making that plan. Well, that's an hour you just lost that I have up now on you. So be ready. And even on a phone call, right? Like take 30 seconds to read through the notes so you know what you're talking about. I know.
Why'd you write the notes if you're not going to study them, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a formality. I got to do it. Great. But they're there for a reason. They're there to help you and for your manager to kind of make sure that you're doing the right thing. I love that. And speaking to that blueprint and that plan of knowing where you want to go, I think one of the most important things is lifelong learning for that, right? And continuously growing and getting better. So let me ask you this, like, what are some of the things that you do on a daily basis, whether it's meditation, podcast, reading, whatever that is that you recommend others do to help continuously grow and get better?
100%. Thanks, Mike. And I have to be honest too. I mean, of late, I've been so busy. So I've kind of put some of my personal / professional development on pause. And that's the worst thing I can be doing because it's not helping me in any way, shape, or form. But it's everything. It's reading more, it's listening to podcasts, it's doing informational interviews, it's learning as much as I can about the role I have, roles others have, the roles I want to get into. I always say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And so, I want to find that room where I'm not the smartest person in the room. And there's other people in those rooms that I'm able to learn from. There's conversations I'm able to listen to. And hey, that's a great question. Or hey, I'm going to ask that next time. Or, whatever the case may be. And so I think that's huge. I think you always got to be learning. One of the things that's been instilled to me over the last couple of years is taking 15 minutes every day to pour into your professional development. And I'm not saying 15 minutes in your 8-hour workday, but 15 minutes of personal time, Kyne time or Mike time. And maybe that's a podcast. Maybe that's a book. Maybe that's a new connection on LinkedIn, whatever that might be. But if you're taking 15 minutes every day to do that, like, you're going to be drastically better than probably another person next to you, because I guarantee you not everyone is doing that. And so, end of work drained me today. Hey, you know what? Before I put on the ball game tonight, 15 minutes professional development. Is that a chapter of a book? Is that a new connection? Is that a blind email that you're sending to try and create a new connection? Whatever that is. So I think those types of things you can do to open yourself up to more learning, to open yourself up to more opportunities, it's only going to help you. I like to tell people, like, prepare yourself for the job that you want, so that when that job is ready, the answer is, yeah, Mike's our guy. Not, hey, we really love Mike, but there's this and there's that, we're just not so sure. Be the person that they want for that opportunity when that opportunity is there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what sales is, right? It's just, I'm trying to bring value to the organization. Be that person. And I think one of the things, probably one of the single-handedly biggest piece of advice I've ever gotten, you hit on a lot of it, was what we do 9 to 5. Like, they're not, what 9 to 5 is dead. I'm sorry. If you're viewing your job as a 9 to 5, you lost. You lost. There's so many people out there that are, even if it's 15 minutes or it's half an hour, or even if you're at the bar and you have a conversation with someone that could lead to new business, like, always be looking to be curious and learn and grow. I love that. And speaking of that and the traits, you've been in the position for a number of years now, done your fair share of interviews. Like, we're in an exciting spot right now. You and I had this conversation. Like, I think we met when the industry was starting to come out of this, and it's a really exciting time. Like, we are coming back bigger and better than ever. So there are jobs out there. So for those, maybe they graduated or they're going to graduate this semester, like, what skills and traits do you look for someone that you look to bring onto your team?
Yeah, 100%. Great question. And I always love getting this question from, like, interviewees and anyone and everyone, because it's just, you think there's so much more to it, but there really isn't. And it's a lot of those simple intangibles. And I'll speak specifically to the Aspire standpoint. We have a term here at Aspire called WHOPP, and it stands for WHOPPPP. And that's work ethic, honesty and integrity, openness to learning, productivity, passion for sports, and passion for sales. So essentially passion for business, positive attitude, and potential for leadership. Those 7 characteristics are, like, the core. You have to have 49% of that is, 49% of our sales consultants are WHOP. 51% of it is everything else, the calls, the talk time, the hustle, all of that, right? So 100% is you doing your job the right way. So our monthly MVP is the WHOP reward. And so obviously WHOP has to be living and breathing in those individuals each and every day. And they're the intangibles that we can't teach you. We can't teach you to have a good work ethic. We can't teach you to be an honest person. I can't teach you to be open to learning. I can't teach you to be coachable. I can't teach you to have potential for leadership. You've got to intangibly have these characteristics. One that I like to add in there additionally is patience. I think patience is few and far between a lot. We're graduating, we're getting our masters, we're being told, hey, well, you should get this base salary, or you should get this experience level job just from, this master's degree or that. And I think maybe there's some merit to that and there's some truth to that, but there's also a huge truth to experience and patience and everything else. And I'm not just saying experience is great, because people have terrible experience too. But at the end of the day, like, you can't come into an organization and expect to be the director of sales in 3 years if there's a great high performing director of sales that's not leaving that job anytime soon. And so I think patience, more than anything else, is probably the characteristic that, like, it's hard to see in an interview. But when you find those patient people, you find those people that just kind of deliver on all facets, you're going to be in that much better spot. And so that goes all the way down to first impressions. You know, you'd be shocked if I told you how many times I've had an initial call with someone and they're wearing a t-shirt, or they don't do their hair or whatever. And it's fine. The world of remote living, like, it's a whole new world, right? But you better believe me, if I'm getting in front of a high level executive for the very first time, I'm probably putting on a suit and tie, no matter what, you know, or coming with at least a jacket or the best version of myself so that I can make a better impression, versus like, hey, you know what? I know you're hiring for the Washington Nationals. If I get the job, I get the job. If I don't, I don't. Well, you know, if it was me and I wanted that job, you know, when I was in inside sales with Clippers, what color tie should I wear? What's going to less cause a focus on this so that I can really, you know, accentuate this characteristic or this trait that I have? And I think the more preparation that you put into some of that, the better off you're going to be.
Spot on. That was just nugget after nugget after nugget flying. So I know people are going to have to go back and watch it, get all of that down. That was such valuable information. And I think the patience is one that I haven't really thought about. And as you're speaking, I'm kind of thinking about it. And it's one of those things, you have to have patience. Did you want to be in mobile for 5 years?
Mobile, but no.
Mobile, but forgive me. But did you want to be in Mobile for 5 years? Like, no. You felt you're ready to go and get to a bigger spot, but you had the patience. I think the key there is you trusted the process. If you trust your process, that every day you're getting 1% better, and regardless of whether you had a bad week or you had a great week, just stay even keel and just keep going and trusting you're doing the right thing. And that may take 3, 4, 5 years, but just trust that if you're doing the right thing, you're growing, you're going to get to where you want to go. And I think, speaking of that process, I think we were really tested over the last, especially for those who, you know, may have lost a job or who graduated and lost an opportunity. You had to have patience for the industry and for the world to kind of start opening up again. And that being said, now that it has, what would you recommend for a college senior or for someone who may be working at a YMCA with a sport management degree that's looking to break into sports, not just sales, just in the industry in general? Like, what advice or things would you recommend they do now to get themselves ahead of their competition?
100%. Great question, Mike. And, you know, I keep telling this story. Like, I've been at probably 3 to 4 career fairs, you know, in the last couple of years. Obviously with COVID, that changed a little bit in person, but I'm starting to see 16-year-old sophomores in high school showing up to these career fairs.
Love it.
And it's just like the biggest shot in the arm. Like, dude, go you. Like, when I was 16 in high school, when I was even a senior in college, I didn't even want anything to do with a career. And so, like, learn as much as you can. Get to know people in positions that you can. There's a lot of great networking groups out there. There's a lot of industry specific groups. And, like, learn as much as you can about the sales consultant role or inside sales or entry level roles, because the last thing you want to do is go through the process, get hired on, get your one shot to shoot your shot, and then realize you hate making calls, or you can't share about yourself, or you can't ask open-ended questions, or whatever. Because if it's your lifelong dream to work in sports, you get that one chance, and then, you know, you did it to get into marketing, or you did it to get into operations or whatever, but your entryway was sales, and you don't come off thriving in sales and making the best version of yourself and the best impression on everyone in the organization, then that's not going to turn out so much in the best interest of yourself. So, you know, I would encourage you really to network, learn as much about the job you can. And then throughout the process, like, lean in on the sales characteristics that we're looking for. You know, we're looking for someone to be consistent, be persistent, follow up, say thank you. Again, Mike, I can't tell you how many times I have conversations with people. I tell them I'd be happy to be a resource, sounding board, hit me up, whatever you need. Never talk to them ever again. And, you know, if I'm someone trying to grow in the industry and there's someone in a senior level, director level, whatever, that's willing to offer some support, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever the case may be, I'm taking advantage of that. And so, I think it's don't sit back and wait. I think it's be respectful, do things the right way. But know your value, take your shots, do what you need to do, and, good things will happen.
100%. And I think to those out there, like, Aspire's a big organization. They hire a lot of people, and you just got firsthand the blueprint of what they're looking for. Check each box, right? Like, that is what they're looking for. So do it. You got to put in the work. You got to do the work. No one's going to do it for you. And, speaking of that, Kyne, I know we're running low on time here. We got, 1 or 2 questions left, but again, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And it's always a pleasure chatting it up. But the last question here, I always love this one. I know it's tough, but that one piece of advice, if you could go back in time, like you said, you're a senior in college, and what would that piece of advice be that you would give yourself?
Yeah. It's not just one. I'm going to go with 3 things, but it's all kind of stuff that I've talked about a little bit. I think first and foremost, just being a little bit more patient. There's been a lot of stops in my career so far where I didn't want to be patient. You said you don't want to spend 5 years in Mobile. No, but I probably had to spend 5 years in Mobile, like that's probably what was best for my career at that point in time. So I think being patient, first and foremost, I would have loved to have been a little bit more patient in some of my stops. I think it would have been a little bit better for my work-life balance and everything else. I think I would have picked my battles better. There were times where I thought I was in the right, and maybe I was in the right. And I made it very known that I thought I was in the right. But it may not have come off the best to everybody else or to leadership or whatever. And so, a lot of learning curves in that regard and getting better from that. And then lastly, I think I would say is just don't wait around. I hear again all the time, like, I'd do anything to work in sports, or I just want to do this, or I just want to do that. And then you talk to them and it's like, hey, I'll get back to you in a couple of weeks. I'll check on this and that. And I mean, sports industry, it's a small industry. Everybody knows everybody. Like, if you've got a good lead, if you got a good opportunity, like, jump at it. Go into it and dive in head first. And, if you're willing to do that, like, the rest will probably take care of itself. But if you're hesitant, I don't know, 6-month commitment, or I don't know, it's only minimum wage, or, when I started in sports, we were told, hey, you don't have to work games, but if you don't work games, you're not getting promoted. And, in today's day and age, that is a big no-no. And we don't want to do that anymore, And so just realize that as you continue to progress through your career, all those intangibles, that work, the grind, the patience, it all will become your best friend in the future of your career, and you'll be better for it.
What a great way to wrap it up. Just, I think, to put a bow on it, just say yes. Say yes. I don't know. Do it. Go. Say yes to every opportunity. Again, as we said, come out of that comfort zone and just go out, grow. You may hate it, but now you know what you don't want to do, and you built connections, right? So I think that what a great way to end it. And, I think so in terms of the career seekers out there, I know, you and I share that passion for helping and giving back and just coaching and being a resource however we can. Like, how can those in the industry, whether it's career seekers or current executives, how can they get in touch with you?
100%, Mike. Thanks for the plug and everything. And very active on LinkedIn. I do have on my LinkedIn a little note to people, like, as a test, like, hey, if you want to connect with me, send me a little message. Because I think a lot of the times too, there's a lot of blind connections, a lot of blind notes, and a blind messaging. And so take that extra step, impress upon people, show them what matters. Hey, this is why I want to connect with you, Kyne. I listened to your podcast and this was awesome. I want to learn more about this, whatever the case may be. But so shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Happy to connect there. Email me, kyne.sheehy@theaspiregroupinc.com. Happy to be your resource in any way I can. Always hiring, always talking jobs. But, if I can help someone in their career, that's more than worth it to me. And so, appreciate the time. Always actively hiring, always happy to help. If you need anything, don't hesitate.
That was a home run right there. I love it. And that's such a great way, for me, someone who wants to get into leadership, of like kind of vetting through talent, right? I mean, that right off the bat is just showing you genuinely care and you're not just blindly connecting with someone. So what a great way to end there. And I do have one other thing. We like saying we always love to help, right? We have something coming up on January 5th here at Nissan Stadium. You wanna share what's going on that day?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna get to meet Mike Scharfenberg in person finally.
Yes,
No,
sir.
but the Tennessee Titans are hosting an awesome career fair there at Nissan Stadium, and so a lot of great industry execs and colleagues will be there, and we'll be talking to a lot of the talent that's coming in and trying to get their foot in the door in the industry. And so, really excited to be up in Nashville in a couple weekends and get going with that. But again, check out the opportunities. Look on LinkedIn, all the different hiring websites, networking on LinkedIn, all that good stuff, and you'll find your way.
100%. And they're going to have some big time organizations there. And again, how bad do you want it? I've had some students reach out from where I'm from, Connecticut, from South Dakota, and they're going to make their way down there. That's how bad they want it. So again, Kyne, thank you so much for the time. It's always a pleasure linking up, and looking forward to finally, meeting in person and maybe grabbing a cold one and on the 5th. And other than that, you're welcome back anytime. You're part of the community now. So thank you again, my friend.
No, absolutely. Thanks for the time, Mike. Appreciate it, everyone. And, wish you all the best of luck, and let's win big together.
Let's do it. So on behalf of Mike Scharfenberg, Game Plan U, that's Kyne. I'm Mike. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.